Have you ever thought about how useful and innovative a miniature robot arm that had a payload of a pencil sharpener would be? Well, I have.
Give me the pack and I might take that. She got a fatty, I might take that. Give me your addy, we pulling it to your better. We gon' put it around and go click clap.
This is my robotic arm. Now you're probably wondering, how did such a handsome and striking young teenager make such a masterpiece in just the depth of his room and imagination? So what I have here is basically what's supposed to be an industrial robot arm. The motors are each wired into a stepper motor driver, which are then all wired together into an Arduino Mega 2560, which contains and runs the program I made solely by me and my indefinable, incredible skills in coding. And I can't forget the gripper, which is basically useless unless you're picking up the perfectly shaped empty roll of duct tape. But you know, whatever. That was meant to open. The type of gearbox I used in my robot is just a simple cycloidal drive design, which I designed based off of a parametric fusion design made by this legend. So the second and third joint of the robot arm have a 20:1 cycloidal reduction ratio, fuck me, with the fourth one having a 13:1 reduction ratio.
Although the model being completely fucked up and out of place by my dumbass CAD designing skills, the design is fairly simple.
With the sets of 2 cycloidal discs at 10 mil thick each, the gearboxes all provide a suitable and great amount of torque for the dedicated joint. So the first joint of the robot arm is actually a different variation of a cycloidal drive, which wasn't exactly worth the trouble I went through to get it working, when I could have done literally any other sort of gearbox and have it worked 10 times easier. Anyways, the first joint uses a weird sort of cycloidal drive, which you can only really source off Google if you search for eccentrically cycloidal gearbox, which literally means the exact same fucking thing as cycloidal drive. This design adaptation is basically just spur gears, but smooth and squiggly. Back to the end axis, the fifth joint is just a mounted motor. Attached to that is the gripper. The gripper is just a random preset based off mechanical principles, which I tweaked to fit my circumstance, which it grabs things but not very well. The whole project actually took a lot less time and failed prints than I originally expected, which is pretty impressive considering the scale of the project. Onto the electrical side of things, I use an Arduino Mega 2560 as the microcontroller for this bad boy, which is then wired to the 5 TB6600 stepper motor drivers, which connect to the motors, which are obviously connected to each joint of the robot. Which I use 2 Nema 23 stepper motors and 3 Nema 17 stepper motors, which I'm sure you can figure out which ones go where. Like I said before, the robot is all run by this Arduino Mega 2560, on which I can use either one of the 2 programs I designed. This code is the main program I use on the Arduino for my robot. It houses multiple preset presets of multiple strings of coordinates and angles within the code, which I can then run accordingly depending on the preset I choose through the serial. The other code I made is a similar variation of the previous code, and it works by me entering the strings of angles through the serial after the code has been run, which are then grouped together and sent. I can then continue to send different or the same string sets of angles. Originally, the plan was to use AS5600 magnetic encoders to track the position of each joint. My fat ass lazy piece of shit couldn't figure out how to use the multiplexer, so I gave up. Not that it was really necessary, as the stepper motors and the stepper motor drivers already have a pretty good form of tracking. I have to rehome the motherfucker every time I turn it on, or if it skips steps. Which only happens when I run it directly into the fucking RAM. I'm fucking insane.
We gon' put it around and go click clap. I read that bit like a boy with a cell on it. She's on my dick and I bet on the I got the pack in the box, I said right on it, open it up and then seal it off. I'm finna stream and I feel like sesame. All of the 30 do behind 6 me. Whip it and flip it, I know the recipe. Remember be a nigga but sleeping and now you texting me. She ride my dick like a skateboard. I get a bob, I don't date horse. I can resent it, she might beat dope. I got my two